There are moments that no man is built to survive. But LaDale Buggs didn't just survive that moment. He worshiped through it.
I'm still crying. The doctor walked in, and I'm holding my son in my hands, begin to sing the hymn, Hallelujah. And the doctor said, "What are you doing?" I said, "The only thing I know how to do right now is just to worship."
His son died Sunday morning.
I said, "Lord, I want to cuss you out. I want to flick you off. I want to spit in your face." He said, "Son, you don't think it hurt me to see my son get beat for nothing?"
He still worshiped.
He said, "Son, if you read my scriptures, what's the assignment? To make your name great or my name great?"
Welcome to the Deal Flow Show. Got a special guest today, Mr. LaDale Buggs, my fellow Texan, my fellow member of the DFW.
Yes, sir.
LaDale, thank you for being on the show.
Yes, sir, man. Thanks for the invitation, guys. Looking forward to this conversation.
I am as well. DJ and I were obviously looking back into your background, looking into everything that you've been working on and been building for the past 10, 15, 20 years. But I would love to first provide context to everybody that is watching. Who is LaDale Buggs? What value does he bring to the table? And what can someone expect to learn from you today?
Well, I'm LaDale Buggs is a country boy from East Texas, Lufkin, Texas. I moved up here when I was 3 years old with my single mother. She then got remarried to my father now, which is great. They have been married for a while. Went to school here locally, played college basketball, which is great. Tried to go pro, but I got hurt trying to go pro. I went from dunking like Kobe Bryant to laying up as like Steve Nash in seconds because I got hurt. And so I had an option to go to the Dallas Mavericks doctor. That was my doctor. He said, "Dad, I can go into your knee and I actually take some tendons out of your knee and put it into your ankle." I said, "Nope, you ain't touching my knee. I'm going to retire." And so I retired, man, and I got into real estate and a little bit of private equity, man. And in college, I began doing a little real estate investing. I kind of saw the debacle coming in 2008. So what I did was when I actually, with the first deal I ever did, it was in college, it was $3,500. And so when you're in college, that's a lot of money, which is good. The second deal, I made $10,000. That paid for my wedding. So that money was gone quick. And then the third deal, I made $26,000, and now I own a lot of real estate nationwide. And so that's me kind of in a nutshell. I'm a husband of Cynthia Buggs for 18 years. That's my life. I'm a father to two girls, Gabriella, which is my mind, and Isabella, which is my heart. And of course, we lost our son 5 years ago, and Michael was my heir. And so my wife, I call my wife my life. And so love marriage, love that. Go to a wonderful church, Watermark Community Church. And as far as what value can LaDale bring to the table, introduce you to a man named Jesus. He's my king.
I think we get straight into that value and how that connects to everything that you do in business and in life. I always love hearing that perspective. I always love hearing the foundation and the root of the fruit that is the business that you are building.
Sure. The name of my company is 316 Capital for John 3:16. The Lord gave me that name because I asked him years ago, what should I name your company? The key thing is your company, not my company. And so for me, I bring nothing of value to the table. My righteousness is as a filthy rags. He brings all of the value. I'm just a manager. He's the chairman, CEO, and owner. So every day for me, I'm like, okay, Lord, what are we doing today? What are we doing today? The one thing that I've learned over the years, I'm learning that lesson even more mightily now, is how to esteem others higher than yourself when it comes to negotiation, partnerships, talking, mannerisms, listening skills. The scripture is very clear to esteem your brothers higher than yourself. That's how you begin to bridge value. And the quickest way to redeem trust is to begin to esteem your brothers and sisters higher than yourself. And so for me, everything begins and ends with the Bible for me, because of the fact that my King, Christ Jesus, he gave it all for me. So I have to give it all for him.
We just the other week, I think at this point it was 2 weeks ago, we talked to a pretty big president of a real estate development firm, and a family office, and he broke down something that kind of wrecked DJ and I's brains. Was what exactly is a plan that you have? And he was just like, I don't have one. I wake up every morning, and he uses this key word, abide. He's like, I wake up every morning and I abide. So, and I abide and I listen for a word, or I listen for instruction. And what does that look like for you in terms of listening for instruct? Because if there's one thing CEOs love to be in, is control. So how do you go about letting go of that control?
Abiding, dying to yourself every day, because how can you control something that you don't own? That is a lie. If someone has an idol of control, you're going to fail. You will never know peace. You will never know shalom, because you're not an owner. You're disqualified to be an owner. You're qualified to be a good steward. And so I love that answer by the president. Love to meet him as well. Abiding. So therefore, in the morning, I get up and I pray and say, Lord, I ask for wisdom, understanding, and revelation, right? I pray with my wife and my kids. And I said, Lord, help me to abide. Give me the wisdom to abide with you today. Help me to esteem my brothers and sisters higher than myself. Whenever they whenever they talk to me or we do business together, let them hear and only see you. Let me decrease so that you may increase. And no matter if it's a bad deal, if I make a mistake, how I respond is key, because of the fact that even in my failure, even in a wrongdoing, even in my successes, how can I show the audience Christ? He said, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men unto me. So my assignment is to lift him up and watch him do all the drawing.
It was pretty funny, because when we had that conversation with him and I asked that question, and he said, I don't have a plan, I'm abiding. We found that over the last, I don't know, a couple weeks, months, all the most successful entrepreneurs that the most successful, the presidents of massive multi-billion-dollar family offices and stuff like that, that's always been just the recurring thread, is abiding. And it's interesting, because I think there's a lot of hustle culture and just different takes on the internet, and just different entrepreneurs who are maybe in a different spot that don't give the credit to God and don't and view themselves as a CEO, whereas your perspective and some of the most successful people we've spoken to is this perspective of a steward. And I just find it fascinating. It's really cool to hear that.
I'll give you a real life example here currently. A couple business deals went bad, right? And we're going back and forth, and I had to get in some quiet time. And I said, Lord, what am I missing? What am I missing? Why are you allowing this to happen this way? And the Lord spoke, and he said, LaDale, I allowed the enemy to come in, and realistically, I used the enemy as a tool to show you a log in your eye. He said, and without this experience, you would have never saw it. And when he showed me that, I said, wow. And what was the lesson? In business, LaDale, a lot of the times you don't esteem your brothers and sisters higher than yourself. I just said, wow. And I began weeping, because if he so loves me so much that he's willing to suffer in the relationship with me just to show me what I cannot see. And then when I see it, he is so gracious enough to come down and comfort me. And then he's so gracious to allow for me to go to those individuals in my community group and confess this to them as something that I could not see, but also to make amends, ask for forgiveness, and begin to rebuild. That's a good God to me. I don't know about you. I've never met a person that does that for me, does it for anybody so sacrificially. Christ runs to the suffering. That perplexes me every single day. How we run from it, he runs to it. And he wants to share us. He wants us to share in the fellowship of his suffering. Every single time he meets us there in the suffering. And that is profound. For instance, one of the toughest times of my life was when we lost my son, Michael. That right there rocked my whole world, because I have two girls and I always wanted a boy. I wanted a boy. To carry on that name, it's a man thing. And my wife called me. She said she was in the hospital. Pre-eclampsia, said we knew that because our first two children put her in the hospital. It's okay. She called me. She said, you need to come right now to the hospital. I'm at the house. She's at the hospital. You need to come right now. I said, what's going on? She said, I am bleeding. I said, what the world? So I got up and drove to the hospital, and I was praying in the car. I said, Father, do it again. Raise Michael from the dead. But if you don't, prepare me for what you're about to put me through. I got out of the car. I ran into the hospital, locked eyes with the doctor. And she said, Mr. Buggs? I said, yes, ma'am. And she paused, and I said, he's going, isn't he? She said, yes, he is. And I said, so we can't go back in and resuscitate him? She says, no, unfortunately. Fortunately and unfortunately, how God made the body is the placenta separated from your wife's wall. And that's what actually caused Michael to pass away. And I said, oh, wow. And so now, guys, I haven't seen my wife yet. This is new information for me. And so I'm trying to gasp for breath, like, this is, whew. And so I then walk around the corner, walk into the room, lock eyes with my wife, and she loses it. So now with this new information, and my wife loses it because she's going through it physically. And I said, Lord, what am I going to do here? But the hits kept coming. So I'll go over there to console her. The doctor walks in and says, we got to get you down to labor and delivery. I just said, for what? She said, your wife's kidneys are shutting down. Kidneys are shutting down. I said, why? Because we have to get Michael out. Because if not, she's going to die. And I just said, okay. So we go down to the labor and delivery room. They get Michael out. And now I'm holding my son in my hands dead. My wife is crying. I'm crying. And when you hear the message, Michael Emmanuel Buggs, time of birth X and time of death X in the same breath, that is a chilling statement. And so at the time, they take us back to our room. And I still have Michael in my hands, deceased. I'm still crying. And now my daughters are there in the room with us. My youngest at the time, she didn't know. She's young. She was 7, so we can process it. My oldest, Gabby, she knew what was going on, so she was crying. And we're crying, and the doctor walked in, and I'm holding my son in my hands, and I begin to sing the hymn, Hallelujah, while I'm holding him in my hands. And the doctor said, what are you doing? I said, the only thing I know how to do right now is just to worship. That's it. And so we're in the room at our lowest point, worshiping Christ while holding my son in my hands dead. That was, she said, I've never seen this before. And she said, you're ministering to me. And I said, well, I'm just showing you the King. That's all I'm doing. Got back to the house. My wife's at home now. And remember, I had mourned yet. I hadn't let it out because I've been holding it for everybody. I've been telling everybody what was going on, talking to our local church, talking to our community group. Everybody didn't know what's going on. And we got to see the hand and feet of Christ when it comes to our local church. We didn't want for nothing, which was great. Got to the house, and my wife said, you need to go downstairs to your office, and you need to mourn. Let this out. Because I was short with her. I was really short with everybody. And I said, okay. I went down there, and guys, I lost it. I was mad at God. I said, Lord, this is on you. It's not on my wife, the doctors, the nurse. This is all you. Listen, Lord, we were going to deliver him on Monday morning. Michael died Sunday morning, 24 hours. Couldn't wait for 24 hours. So I had 2 discussions with God. And the Lord then spoke. He said, son, tell me how you really feel about me. I said, Lord, I want to cuss you out. I want to flick you off. I want to spit in your face. He said, son, I can understand that. He said, but can I give you the perspective? I said, sure, Lord. He said, You don't think it hurt me to see my son get beat for nothing? So how about this one? He's hanging on the cross, my son, and he asked me a question which he knows the answer to, and I have to turn my back on my own son. He said, son, I understand what you're going through. And it was comforting to know that the King of the universe is talking to me at my level. And I said, Lord, thank you for talking to me. I said, Lord, but your son got up. And 3 days, he said, your right hand, the son that you blessed me to have, I won't send him into glory. And even you control that. Guys, he said, LaDale, that's correct. And the discussion was over. It was, I am God. You are not. Be okay with that. And so for 4 years, I was okay with it. That 5th year, it began rumbling up again. Like, man, this is, I want this to come from, because the emotions come. They come out of nowhere. And I went to go minister at my daughter's school with the young men there, because they asked me to. And the Lord said, son, it's time to continue that discussion. I said, Lord, I'm all ears. What's up? He said, LaDale, a father that wants to carry on the son's name, to carry on his name through his son, he said, that's honorable. That's a gift I give him to you. He said, but son, if you read my scriptures, what's the assignment? To make your name great or my name great? I said, whew, should your name great? He said, be careful with making your son an idol. I just said, wow, so much peace. So much peace. Now, if a man told me that, I'd probably knock him out. But since the Lord told me that, peace beyond understanding. I said, wow, because he's talking to me. He's answering questions for me. So when the CEO of that successful construction or development family practice says abiding, he's correct. The assignment is to abide.
Man, that's so powerful. I when you because you answered the follow-up question before letting the question rattle off of because when you started saying, I guess the word is humble yourself and have that humility to realize that you aren't the one in control and the one in charge. It's the question that fires off and always fired off and still to this day fires off for me in my brain as well. If if God and who I'm listening to is so powerful, how does he let these types of things happen? And you're living proof and living example of the ultimate, I guess, unexplainable tragedy. Because that's because you can't really explain that. And
No.
it's
No, it's, again, the scripture says, if you abide in me and I abide in you, ask you whatever you wish in my name and I give it to you. He also says, Matthew 6:33, seek first the kingdom and its righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. So it seems to be there's a fellowship component into the relationship that God really values. So much so he attaches a blessing to it. So for me, the most valuable gift I can ever have is to abide with him, because he's the author and finisher of my faith. He's the beginning and he's the Alpha and Omega. He is it. He's a boundless pit of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. So why would I run from that? I don't like. For me, I'm okay with the unknown as long as he's there with me. If I am in the unknown and I'm by myself, terrified. Because why? I'm prone to want control. So abiding with him is necessary for me. Why? It keeps me sane. It keeps me grounded. It keeps me humble. It keeps me motivated. It keeps me driving. It gives me access to wise counsel. That's the reason why I love abiding. Go ahead, brother.
Where did this originate from? Have you always had this level of faith and this level of trust in God? Like, was there a moment where you decided to give your life to this, or has it always been this way? Like, talk to me about where this came from.
Okay, good question. When I was in first grade, I came home to my dad and I lied to him about what happened at school. And my dad knew I was lying. He said, I know you're lying. I called the school. I was like, dang, I got caught. I got caught. At that moment, he shared the gospel with me. And I said, you know what? I'm ready to see Christ as my Savior. And when that actually happened, it was a weight lifted off of me. But I didn't know that that same father was beating my mama. And the first time I ever heard it, my bedroom was across the hall from my mom and dad's. And I remember me being in the bed at night. And I remember my mom and dad were talking loud for some reason. I said, okay, no problem. They having a discussion. And all of a sudden I heard a slap. My mom said, I told you to never put your hands on me again. And you did it again. That was the first time I knew that my dad had been beating my mom. First thing I did was I grabbed the Bible and I began to pray. That's how I began to cultivate this whole thing. The assignment is to walk by faith and not by sight. So what God has done very well is put me in situations to where all I had was faith. All I had was Him. He is the only solution. He is it. And that has been such great value to me, whether I am up or down. So
it's interesting.
That's where it came from me.
It's interesting because I think people that go through similar, like some of the stories you've shared today, some tend to go in the opposite direction of, rather than clinging to faith and opening up the Bible and going down that path and giving themselves to Christ. It's kind of the complete opposite direction. And what do you think? Was it just inherent in you? Like, how did you, why did you go this direction instead of the other?
Because I had to go back to scriptures. There's a prescription in the Bible to where God reveals Himself to you. Most individuals that run away from this probably have not discovered that prescription. The God of the Bible says, I will reveal myself to you. He's literally saying, ask me to do that. I asked Him, and He did. And when God reveals Himself to you, you can't deny it at all. To this day, people are shocked at it. Like, how are you so sane after losing Michael? Jesus. How do you process when you wound people and when you get wounded? Jesus. Why? Every single day I wound Him. But He's still there with His arms open. The text says His mercy renews every day. So, and that's so key because of the fact that I have His grace and His mercy. So every day, guys, I wound Him over and over and over and over again, consciously and subconsciously, and with my actions. Ask for forgiveness, it's renewed the next day. I do the same thing over and over and over again. How can you say that this God is not good? It is making a logical sense for you to say that He's not. I've never heard of a person that renews mercy every day. Have you? No, you have not. You have not. But this God says, my mercy renews every day and hold me to it. What? Oh my God. How? I want to know that. I want to know that. How did you do that, Lord? How do you suffer so well? How do you do it? And like, for instance, the Passion of the Christ, the whole movie, Jesus would have loved for that to happen to Him. He would have loved that. What really happened to Christ, it could not be played on television or on in the movies. It'd be too gory. Read it. They couldn't recognize Him. His spine was exposed. His ribs were exposed. Parts of His body was cut off, not because of a sword from the cat o' nine tails. Then He had to carry a 60-pound cross with exposed wounds for miles. And he tells his mom, I'll make all things new. If He's willing to do that for me, I have to give Him my life. That only makes logical sense. I've never met a person that will, before he tells you to do something, he does it first. Have you? That's Christ.
When you put it in that, perspective, it's like the whole business side of everything and the whole, everything sounds so small in comparison
Mhm.
to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we serve a big God, man. We know probably a morsel what he truly is. Don't get it twisted. He's a king. Don't get it twisted. He is a king, and whatever a king says, even the king himself has to do what he says. For instance, one of God's names is Master, which makes us a student, right? Now, in order for a master to be a master, he has to be able to tell the student what student needs to know at the right time. Because if a master tells a student what he needs to know at the wrong time, he disqualifies himself as a master. That's why abiding is so crucial. Because every second, every millisecond, every minute, every hour, I want to be near him. Lord, what are we doing here? Why? That's my master. And I need to know some things before I do things. Now, sometimes he allows for the experience to teach you, and that's fine. No worries about it. And that's a master saying, no, here, I'm gonna let for life to teach you. That's what a master knows this, because he exists outside of time. So it behooves me to say, okay, this guy exists outside of time, right? I need to get this perspective. Why? I'm walking what he's already seen. So for me, I'm like, I have to serve this big guy because he's so huge and so gracious and so merciful and so loving and so caring. And he does this, but he does discipline. Yes, he does. He will use the enemy as a tool to discipline and to teach. I'm okay with all of that. Why? Not my will, but his will be done.
Can you share a specific story, like with the real estate guy that we were talking about? We kind of went down a similar thread, and then I asked him to give some examples of in business when he had just let go and given up control and used this abiding principle to make decisions and, grow his business. And are there any specific stories that come to mind where you gave up control and, saw this manifest in your business?
Sure. There was a business deal, a real estate transaction that was completing in Starkville, Mississippi, on the campus near the campus of Mississippi State University. And a partner of mine located the deal, sent it over to me. I took a look at it. There was 15 properties already built, and 13 of them were leased out. And there was 18 lots already subdivided. All utilities have been installed. It's plug and play. All you have to do is build a house up. That's it. It's what they call ready to build on. And I said, okay. I was talking to the lady. The lady was kind of crazy. She was kind of crazy. She was from Oregon. And so the deal took about 6 months to get done. And we were just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But she kept saying, Dad, I want to save 15 properties. But at the exact same time, you got to buy these lots. I'm like, the lots are not valuable to me right now. She's like, no lots, no deal. Guys, we actually got the lots appraised as well, and also the homes as well. Talked to my bank, and they said, okay, LaDale, how you want to put this deal together? I said, I don't know. Let me look at it and see. I said, hey, I said, because the lots are worth X, what if we put the price of the lots into the loan? I said, that makes some sense. And so now that would have driven up my closing costs a little bit more. I said, I don't have that right now at my disposal. I got it, but I don't have it right now. And so I said, all right, Lord, how are we going to close this? The property manager at the time said, LaDale, we're going to use the lease money that we've been received as your down payment. I had no clue that was getting worked out. I said, what? And matter of fact, you now own the lots free and clear. All 18 lots. So I brought no money to the table. God structured the deal to where the value of the lots were included in my deal. I bought the properties for $1.5 million. They're worth $2.5 million. So I had some equity there. Actually 1.8, and it's worth 2.8, my bad. And that was the 1.8 was including the lots itself. And I literally bought the lots for $10 total. All 18 lots. God put all that together. All that together. I got the phone call from the title company. Said, yep, it's just done. Yeah, the property manager sent the money. You get to go.
Wow. That actually reminds me of a story. Ivan, I'm sure you could actually probably tell us better than me. But when we were in Orlando, we were with some guys that they run a ministry, and they tell I asked them for some crazy stories, and they were telling us about a specific story where they needed, I forget the exact figure, but maybe they needed $50,000 to go do a project in, I also forget the country and the location because they told multiple stories, but basically they brought their team together to go do this project and say they needed $50,000. And when they got on the plane, they had $20,000, and they needed to show up to the hotel when they landed their plane with that $50,000 in the account. And
I know what story you're talking about.
I would actually rather you tell it, Ivan, because you know
yes.
it better than me, but it just, every time I hear this kind of thing, it amazes me.
But he's an evangelist in Orlando. Shout out Caleb, an evangelist, and they'll go to third world countries and just places, Pakistan, like areas in which Christianity is not necessarily welcome, right? It's not like, they celebrate that over there. If anything, they look down on it heavily, and they'll go into these areas and they'll have a massive fundraising goal, and they'll need money in order to, for example, there's a section in Pakistan actually where there's actually still slavery, as in these people's families, the previous generations, owed maybe $1,000, maybe 2,000 USD, but because of that debt, they didn't have US dollars. So because of that debt, now they're forced to work, and they're like born into slavery. Still to this day, that is happening in Pakistan, and they're just laying bricks all day, carrying bricks, and that's all they're doing. That's their whole life. And in order to free them, it takes paying off that money. So they'll get on a plane and fly to that country without even having the money necessary to do it. But because they believe in it so much and they have that faith, that they get on the plane anyways, knowing good and well they don't have the money to eventually be in the hotel and have a place to sleep, and they'll hop on the plane, land in the country, and then somehow somebody who hasn't donated ever before will donate. Someone who is in their 90s and has never donated via online portal will all of a sudden decide that one day they want to donate online. And it just keeps happening. They'll hop on the plane and boom. They'll hop on the plane and boom.
Like they told multiple. It wasn't just one. Like that's why I couldn't piece together the story, because it was like multiple occasions.
It's I wanted to transition as well to you mentioned I was listening obviously to the interview that you did with Matt and on Seven Figure Squad, and you were talking about when you were pitching, I believe it was one of your first deals, and people who knew you, who you grew up around, and they turned you down. But something you said, there is the race component that people like to look at. But for me, what really stood out to me was when you were talking about what transcends all of that is just the value that you bring. And I'd be very interested to hear your definition or how you internally view providing value. How do you go about doing that intentionally? Because obviously you mentioned you provide value. You get your foot in the door. It doesn't matter how unqualified you are.
Sure. Great question. This is how I define value. What problem are you solving? And if is the problem small or is it large? The larger the problem, the larger the return on investment. Now, the larger the problem, the larger the sweat and maybe even financial equity that you have to contribute to it, right? But value is what problem are you solving for your audience? Once you can locate what that problem is and provide the right solution, money will flow your way because you're making someone's life easy. Business is about how do I make someone's life better? That's all it's about, whether it be in real estate, financial services, network marketing, any industry at all. How can I make someone's life better? Does my solution make Ivan's life better? Does my solution make DJ's life better? If the answer is no, money will not come. Because I don't know about you, I don't invest money in things or buy things that don't solve a problem. Do you? No. So that's value. Value is what problem are you solving? That's all it is.
I think what helped me a ton, using that definition of value and what you do with real estate, what you do with what others do that we've spoken to, do in VC and private equity, and what problem does this industry solve? Because I know, I'll know guys in finance working at an investment bank or a private equity firm that the value that they provide, really the reason they're in it is for money, or I guess the problem that they solve and the value that they bring and why they're important, maybe it isn't necessarily painted to them all the time, and they kind of burn out because they don't see a purpose in what they're doing. So if someone's watching this, what is the value of the industry that you're in? What is the value of that? What are the problems that, whether it's real estate development, what is the real value that they're bringing to the marketplace?
Well, in real estate, number one, real estate is a necessity because everybody needs a roof over their heads, whether it's a house, apartment, condo, tiny home, you name it. If someone needs a house, a roof over their head, right? So with that being stated, that's one problem being solved: housing. Number two, some people may need financing for said house, whether it be an investor or if you're in what they call the qualified mortgage arena, right? Or a loan originator can give you a loan to purchase a home. Either way you go, that's fine. If you're on the investment side, you can look at via a rental scenario, right? Where you can do a lease purchase, lease to own, or a seller financing scenario to where you become the bank with someone as well. So you can provide not only the housing, but also these instruments and the techniques and the strategies for a tenant and or a buyer to either acquire or move into your home. So I can present three different values, or actually two different values, to the consumer as an offer. And I say, you choose what offer you want. Give me an example. In the Jackson, Mississippi arena, we invested heavily out there. That's more of a rental scenario. And maybe a lease purchase would be. Now, there's some segments of there where people can actually acquire. So I offer both. I say, okay, you want to buy the house? You want to buy a house via seller finance? Would I become your bank, right? Or go to Bank of America and get your own loan. No problem. Or if not, let's do a lease or lease purchase. I made them 4 offers. Which one you want? So I position the buyer and or tenant to choose what option is best for them. I never sell. I just make offers. It's all I do. That's it. So my whole start and finish is a housing component. Now, for me, when I go actually out and acquire a property or an apartment complex, what's the value for me? The price point. So what I'm saying is, okay, I like to buy below wholesale, whether it's a single-family residence or an apartment complex or a warehouse. What's my exit strategy? What am I looking to do here? And once I locate that exit strategy, then I see the value, then my currency follows there. So at the acquisition, for me, I am the audience. When I'm actually is selling or leasing property, the tenant and the seller, they're the audience. So each and every scenario, whether it be myself or I'm on the other side, value has to be presented. That's it. Period. So that's our business about, is value. What value are you actually presenting to the audience to say, hey, I got to give a little of this money, or I'd say, you know what, I got to buy this property because why? The exit strategy is so good, and I've been pretty well at doing that.
I find it super interesting how you mention, like, you will make 4 different offers about just different ways to get the deal done. And I think a lot of people maybe have limiting beliefs, or maybe just a lack of understanding, or have all these kind of roadblocks to getting deals done, that it's clear that you have 0 limitations within your mind about how you can go about getting deals done. How did you develop that? Was that through, like, how did you learn that? Because I think a lot of people say, looking to get into real estate or looking to go into buying businesses, they have these limiting beliefs around they need the capital, or they need this, or they need that. But it sounds like you found a lot of different creative ways to get deals done through seller financing and working with different banks and stuff like that. Talk to me through the process of how you learn that and how you approach business now. It sounds like you just get so creative.
Well, at the beginning of my career, I had no money, no credit, no nothing. So I had to get creative. I had to. I was once known as what they call it's an investing strategy called subject to investing. Between 2008 and 2015 in Dallas, Fort Worth, I was known as a subject to investing king of Dallas because I had mastered that art. I had mastered it. It was so good that people were using my contracts. They were bad-mouthing me behind closed doors, actually in front of everybody, but then going behind closed doors and using my contracts. So it's like, it is what it is. It is what it is. I say, I must have been doing something right because you're talking bad about me. It is what it is. So at the beginning, to answer your question, I was forced to have to be creative because I had nothing in my hand. I had no credit. I had no cash. So I had to get creative. Now, once you begin to get credit and cash now, creativity is great, but you have to begin to manage it the right way because you can't begin to get too creative to where your creativity, right, the creativity will drive your audience away. So what I've been trying to do is I say, okay, what are you looking to do? What is your goal here, Mr. Seller? What is your goal here, Mrs. Tenant or Mr. Buyer? What's your goal? What are you looking to do? And I let them tell me what it is so that I don't have to break my brain to be creative on something that I don't know. So I just begin discussing. What are you looking to do? That's it. So now my creativity is more so asking pointed questions, thought-provoking questions to get them talking. Once I get you talking, then I can say, okay. I still say, let me give you 3 offers. I'm gonna give you 3 offers, right? And I explained to them why I'm giving 3 offers. And I explained to them the reason why I gave you these 3 offers on each one of them. So now, which one do you think is the best one that fits your situation? And they get to choose. People love the power to choose. They love it. So I went out giving them power to choose. That's how I've been able to do it.
That's fascinating. I have a mentor of mine who has taught me a lot. I come from an internet marketing background, and one of the principles that he taught was exactly what you said, which is people love choice. Like, it's a key, like in persuasion, it's actually more persuasive to be able to, it's not an illusion of choice because you're actually giving someone choice. But when you present multiple options, and like you said, you step into their shoes and you're just coming from their perspective of what they would potentially want, and then you're providing multiple options so that they can choose the best thing for them. It's just like a super powerful just persuasion principle to get deals done. What are some other things you've learned about deal making? Like you mentioned, you started with no money, no credit, no anything, and then you became the king of subject to, and now years later you have a fund and tons of assets across the nation. So like, what are some other key like tactical lessons you've learned about deal making?
Oh, simple. Shut up and listen. Most people like to run their mouth. God gave you 1 mouth and 2 ears for a reason. Use your 2 ears and shut your 1 mouth. You'll be alone there what people will tell you. They'll tell themselves. They'll do it in a second. I've learned so much for just being quick to hear and slow to speak and slow to anger. Being quick to anger can blow up a deal. So again, I said that's a biblical principle. Be quick to hear.
How are we going to
slow to speak, slow to anger. So I go into every single deal. Even when there's conflict, I always listen. Okay, what are we arguing over? And I just listen. Okay, I'll reconfirm. Oh, okay. You know what? That was never my intention. Can I communicate to you what my true intention was? Sure. All of a sudden, I've lowered the temperature down, and now we can have a good conversation. The same thing in negotiating. What are you looking to do? Like, what's your ultimate goal? Now they don't give me some realistic goal. They may say, I want $100,000. So I say, sir, respectfully, it's probably hard to give you $100,000, but let me kind of reconfirm with the numbers. And let me get back with you on that, but let me just see. And I give you a couple offers. Is that fair? That is fair, but I've listened to the seller for 15 minutes. Tell me what it is. Okay, sounds good. Okay, we can see what we can do there. Gotcha. So I would say the first lesson is shut your 1 mouth and listen with your 2 ears. That's the one thing I would do. Number 2 is don't be afraid to ask for wise counsel. The business is deals are run by a team. They're won by a team, not an individual. The era of the solo entrepreneur is dead. Someone like myself is going to crush you because we have a team, a squad behind us. They will look at a deal on the second level. That's not a good deal. Not a good deal. So I would say get out of that self-employed mentality and get into a business owner mentality. Number 3, learn how to buy back your time. A lot of beginners and also seasoned investors or business entrepreneurs fall in love with the business and they forsake their family. Don't do that, because you may make the money, but you'll be rich and alone, rich and miserable. Always seek wise counsel to say, hey, where are the log in my eyes? Hey, my wife told me XYZ, or my husband told me XYZ. Hey, how can I do this better? How can I have a good work-life balance? Talk to me. When someone tells me the work-life balance doesn't exist, run from them. That is not wisdom. That's a lie. Because when I said I do to my wife, she became first. Above all things besides Christ. Above all things, she's first. Even for my mom and my daddy and my kids. So the business that, for me, it's Christ, wife, kids, business, external family. That's the order. That's the order. And sometimes business and external family, they actually switch over a lot of times. So a lot of times business becomes last, because the need that says, I got to focus on my brother in Christ needs over here. I got to focus on what my mom and dad need. So business becomes last. But that's how that normally goes for me. And that makes, I hope that helped you out.
That was fantastic. It sounds like this recurring theme is just a lot of people that we've talked to on the show have such a counterintuitive mindset to what, like, a lot of the traditional, I guess you could call them business gurus, will tell you, the no work-life balance, all that stuff. It sounds like you really value having the business work for you and the business serve you rather than you serve the business. And you mentioned a really important concept of just like buying back your time, and nothing is done alone, and you need a team to truly be able to do something great, and you'll smoke somebody who has that, solopreneur mindset. How have you gone about building, a great team? How have you gone about learning how to manage other people and work with other people and collaborate? Can you give me some principles there that you've used to build the team that is now able to do these types of deals?
Yeah. I go back to the Bible. It says, and you will know them by their fruit, their character. Here lately, I have not been a good choice of character, so I have to get better at that. That's one log in my eye. But typically what happens is I'll sit down and talk with someone, and I'll say, okay, I ask them, you married? Yeah. I said, tell me about your wife. Tell me about your husband. Tell me about your kids. How do things run at the house? And I listen very carefully, because if there's holes at the house, how are you going to be able to commit here if you're struggling at the house? So therefore, I would say I look at them by their fruit. Typically, I like bringing on people that may not be college educated, because typically college educated individuals think that they're entitled to a position. No, sir. No, sir. I actually like training someone on the whims and the ways of real estate. I'll put together standard operating procedures within our work drive solution to where whenever, and I learned this from Dan Martell. He has a book called Buy Back Your Time. Wonderful book. You should go read it. For every problem in your business, make a video for it. It's called SOP, standard operating procedure. Every problem you have. So that if someone says, I had a problem, if you go to work drive under this section, we walk through that issue. Watch it and come back to me. So you empower your team to run the company without you. Does that make some sense?
No,
I'm learning how to buy back my time.
100%. And you mentioned kind of going, when you're looking to hire somebody, you're going kind of to their personal life first to see the character and the attributes and the different traits outside of just business or credentials or degrees or whatever. What are some key traits? Like we've asked some different people, like, what are key traits in some really good hires? And one of the most interesting ones that I got was curiosity. And what are some other traits that you're looking for in someone that you're going to hire in kind of a high leverage position within the company?
It depends on the position, but I'll give a couple of them. Number one, are you patient? How do you process issues? Do you blow up? Or do you understand you can get emotional? or do you kind of sit down and kind of say, okay, let me process together with somebody? Number two, I agree. Are you curious? How do you solve complex situations? It's a curiosity, like, you know what? How can I make this deal work? Now, sometimes that may mean this is a bad deal, and it's okay. But at least you went through the process of that. Number three, I would say, can you talk well? You're in real estate. You got to be able to talk to some people. You got to talk to some people. So, are you afraid to get on the phone and talk to somebody? Are you afraid to get and sit down with somebody and go to the deal? How do you process conflict issues, complex deals? How do you do that? And I said, show me how you would do this, and I'll give them the issue, and they'll tell me how they do it. That's it. You're interviewing for this position, not me interviewing you, not me interviewing for you. So tell me how you would do in this environment. That's it. That's how I normally do. For me, those are kind of the top three things.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, another mentor of mine. We were kind of walking through. We're looking for a few key people and within a company that I run, and he was telling me, he was like, dude, like, you just ask them the question of, hey, if we were to just say this, the objective's not important, but if we're trying to go achieve this objective, what's your 90-day plan? And then you shut up and you just let them talk, and they'll tell you everything you need to know. And like you mentioned, the key words of, they're interviewing for the position, you're not interviewing them. So yeah, that was fantastic. I know, Ivan, you probably have something, but
Yeah, when you talk about curiosity and then listening and then patience, and the root that I go back to is the humility of everything. Because when you have the humility, you're willing to realize you don't understand it all, so you don't blow up in front of everybody's face. You ask questions instead of shutting down. And the only reason I understood that is because that was me. Impatient in situations, thought I knew absolutely everything. Probably still sometimes do once in a while, for sure. But what are some moments in business where humility was, now you call them opportunities to realize humility or learn it, but in reality they're failures that smack you across the face. What are some moments that you had in business that you then learned from, that you still carry in the back of your mind in a good way as a reminder for humility?
How can I say this? The two of them, all money is not good money. And then number two, be careful with the partnership that you choose, because it's harder to get out of a partnership than it is to get into one. And so for me, I'm continuously learning, okay, if this is a good partner, let me see how he operates in this space. Let's look at a deal together. Now after looking at it, and say, okay, well, how do you do this deal? And let's conflict, let's process, let's debate. So how do you do in this scenario? So for me, two lessons is, number one, all money ain't good money. And the number two, all partners are not good partners. They're not.
Do you have any stories that you could share that seared those into your brain?
Yeah. Early on in my career, I began working with a partner on some deals. He had bought a lot of my Subject 2 properties. He was doing some shady stuff, and I did not know what he was doing. He was doing some stuff that were, I'll be honest with you, kind of dangerous, to be honest with you. And when it came time to solve the problem, he chose a street way of trying to solve it. I said, nah, I gotta go. Cause at the time my kids were small, and my wife was a little concerned. So I said, I gotta step back out of this. So that's one that comes to mind, of how all partners are not good partners. And to this day, he reaches out to me and, hey, how you doing, Dale? What you working on? I don't respond. I don't, because it doesn't make any sense for me to do that.
How about you mentioned all money isn't good money. Are there
Mhm.
some deals or projects or where you've taken money that, it ended up being a headache or a nightmare?
Oh,
Can you
yeah.
share some stories on that?
Yeah, probably in the mid part of my career, I was buying properties and then borrowed second lien financing to renovate them and get them ready. I actually violated one of my principles, which is what running the numbers, because I was so committed to getting to the bag, and that kind of blew up on me because I didn't properly prepare, did not. So I learned that and it was a high interest rate too, high interest rate. So I paid it for a little bit, hoping that I would exit out at a certain time frame. When that didn't happen, I was like, oh, this is not going to be good. So we came to an agreement, which is fine. But that's when I realized. I said, wait a minute. Even those offered to me, all money ain't good money. Because if the property's not cash flowing well, why even take the money? Didn't make any sense. And I learned that the hard way.
Mhm. You said you broke one of your principles or didn't abide by it. If you were sitting at dinner with a younger entrepreneur and you just had to write down on a napkin those principles, what exactly are they and why?
For real estate, I would say know your numbers. Know your as is value, scope of work, after prayer value, and have an exit plan in place up front. Number 2, partner with the bank that helps you that helps you to meet your end all goal, right? And number 3, have your exit strategy ironed out before anything. Those 3 things. If you master those things, anybody can be successful in real estate. Anybody can.
Talk to me about having that exit strategy beforehand. Does that mean having a buyer ready or more of a like go to market and find a buyer? Like what does that mean?
It's a go-to-market strategy. I'll give you an example. Bought a property in Jackson, Mississippi for $15,000. It's a 322, right? It's worth $20,000, so I bought it below wholesale. Great. I put about 40 into it. So 15 plus 40 is $55,000. I'm all in, right? You probably add another 5,000 closing costs, so I'm really all in 60. The ARV was 110. So I said, okay, in order for me to be made whole, because I normally buy, renovate, lease out, refi, and then lease or sell it, or sell it. Or normally I lease. So I knew, I said, okay, 110, that's about 82,000, somewhere around there. Okay, 825. So 825 minus 60, I made $22,000. That's not bad at all. At all. And so for me, I said, okay, my exit strategy in this area of Jackson was lease it out. Let's try to lease it out initially because if you lease it out, it makes it more attractive to a buyer, an investor buyer. Because I don't think this is going to sell to a traditional seller in this area. This is a lower income area, which is great. And so far, that strategy is deemed to be fairly good. Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like you're coming with, like you said, know your numbers. So you know the numbers, you know what you're all in on the deal, and then you're looking at what you're going to be able to recoup off of that in the beginning before you even are willing to do the deal. That's fascinating. I know we're kind of coming up on time here, so Ivan, I may let you take it and wrap, but I've learned a lot. This has been a really fun conversation.
For sure. I appreciate the wisdom that you've shared today and being so open with the stories and vulnerable with the stories, because that isn't easy. And so major respect and gratitude for you being willing to share.
Sure. Thank you guys for the invitation. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I went into some places that normally when I'm interviewing, I don't go into because I don't ever ask them. But this one, it was really good. This will be really good.
Awesome. Well, we definitely appreciate that. If someone wants to find you, I know when we talked previously, you told me about a program you're starting and the community. And if someone can find you, if someone wants to reach out to you and learn from you, where can they find you and what should they be looking for?
Sure. On all platforms, it's my first and last name, LaDale Buggs. Just type it in and you'll find me. Number two, I do 2 podcasts. One on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's called the Counter Move Podcast. We take a social issue, a political issue, a financial issue, unpack it together. Really 3 things. Unpack it together and then infuse wisdom into it and then prescribe the right solution. Then on Friday, that's the fun one. It's just called Real Estate Friday Live at 5 p.m. CST. Me and a good partner of mine, Cliff Hunter, we actually do live. We talk about the current market analysis. We talk about what's going on in the government or mortgage rates or the Federal Reserve Chairman, what that may mean for your local area. And then we give you a solution that you can actually apply today to make an extra 5, 10, 20 grand on a monthly basis. So that's the fun one. I mean, the comic book was fun too. That's fun too, but I enjoy that as well also. But yeah, that's me. And also to kind of let you know, we are about to launch what we call the Cash Flow Club, right? And what that is it's just a community of investors that's looking to strategize, use capital, get the right capital, and to prescribe the right impact. And also, guys, in that community, we're going to give guys access to our Cash Flow Club deal flow board. We get a lot of deals that come across our desk. We can't buy them all. But we thought it'd be wise, instead of us just letting them go, give them to our Cash Flow Club members and say, hey, we teach buy distressed properties below wholesale. Here's a deal in your area, your city, town, county, or state. It's right here. So people that can actually locate those deals that we're marketing for. We spend $100 a market, like not you guys. We are. And what's happening is we're giving to them for them to buy. We provide the financing if they need it. Of course, the real estate education if you need it. Title company contacts, power team contacts, you name it, it's all right there.
Boom. And I think anyone listening that wants to get started in real estate or started in investing in those types of deals, I think they'd be a fool not to learn from you.
Oh, God bless you. I appreciate you, man.
Of course. Well, LaDale, thank you. And that's a wrap, gentlemen. It's another episode of the Deal Flow Show.
Salute, guys. Thanks so much for your time, guys.